Today I'm going to talk about the DJI Pocket 3 and can you use it as a studio camera? Well, I'm using it right now. This camera has a 1-inch sensor that is big and beautiful. However, there are some drawbacks and possibly some workflow issues that you may encounter. And in this video, I'm going to talk about them. Chapters in the description. Before I get to the setup, what do you think about the video quality? Pocket 3, ZVE1 with the f2.8 zoom. Obviously, the Pocket 3 costs a whole lot less. However, it doesn't perform a whole lot less either. The DJI Pocket 3 is quite frankly amazing when it comes to image quality, and that 10-bit file is just so nice to have. The ZVE1 is clutch in all scenarios. However, I'll get to that a little bit later. Let's move on to the audio, because audio is important. And that's why for these studio shots, I like using a dynamic mic. Just sounds better. I don't need full out sound panels everywhere. It just works and it's easy to use. So starting off with the Pocket 3, I have a Boya USB-C to 3.5 millimeter cable that connects to a 3.5 millimeter cable into an interface, and this interface I use partially as a mobile setup. It's the DJI Micro Pro Plus. It has some gain, but it's not enough for this mic, and this mic needs to be boosted, and I don't do that in post because you'll get a lot of noise. I have this Clark Technic mic booster, so this adds the gain that is needed. A lot of people like the Cloud Lifter. This thing costs a whole lot less, and you know how it is being Asian. So this setup, it works great. I like the sound quality. And what do you guys think? Does it sound good? Okay, so let's look at issues that you might run into. These aren't necessarily drawbacks. They're just issues that you run into as a content creator. This is the content camera, right? They sell it with the creator combo. So the first one would be power. The DJI Pocket 3 has a good 2 hours of recording times, and that is phenomenal. However, with the bigger camera, the ZVE1, I can run a larger battery. It has a separate port for audio. It has a separate port for power. It has a battery that you can essentially plug continuous power onto the bottom. With the DJI Pocket 3, I'm left with just one USB-C port. And I was using the Full Aim X5, and I found out that you can actually power the camera and have the mic connected at the same time. However, I don't have the exact cable when it comes to plug-in mics at this moment, but it technically works. Okay, another issue that you'll run into is reliability. Generally, these big cameras, they're reliable. They can record for many hours at a time. And right now, DJI is still going through some growing pains, and I believe they will fix it in the future. But I do have reliability issues, especially with audio. I can't monitor my audio. So I'm just hoping that, because I see the levels very clearly, by the way, then that means that it's recording. And I have the backup going, but then the primary, if I screw the pooch, I'm recording this whole video all over again. A workflow issue that you will run into is if you record, I believe it's 15 minutes, the files start to split. So now you're dealing with a lot of small chunks. Well, this recording is probably going to take over 15 minutes to do, because that's just how YouTube works. I'm going to chop up a lot of it. Another issue you may run into is aperture control. This probably not an issue because of this DJI Pocket 3 comes with a bright f2.0 lens. And if you had a narrower aperture, you can sharpen up the background. I'm not really sure why anyone would do that, but technically you can have the background in focus if you had aperture blades. This thing doesn't have any. And a single focal length. Okay, so you might get bored of this view already because I'm just sitting in the same place. But if I'm on the ZVE1, whoa. and I pull back, it's a completely different shot. Wouldn't you agree? Another issue that might make you not so happy would be the bit rate, because I'm filming a talking head video. There's not a lot of movement. You want to film like the lowest bit rate you can, because you don't want all of that hard drive space, which is precious, getting wasted on your computer, especially if you're running these Macs that have very little space. Then you want the lower bit rate, and you can't really control it with the DJI. It's just 100 megabits per second or bust. With the Sony, I believe I could go down to like 30 megabits per second and still keep it 4K. I don't really need a high for this talking head portion of it. Despite that, there are some major reasons that you would want the DJI Pocket 3 for a talking head camera. It's ultra portable. You can bring this thing anywhere, and it takes up very little space. And if you don't have to use this fancy mic right here or any type of plug-in mic, you can have the DJI mic. Comes with a built-in receiver, and the transmitter can toggle your record button. It's the ultimate small form factor. The image quality is fantastic. How can you complain about this other than looking at a middle-aged man? Despite having no aperture, having an f2 lens that is really bright is appealing. That means you don't need very bright lights. This 20-watt light lamp LED panel is enough to get it going. And if it's not, then I can raise the ISO slightly and it'll still look good. It's a 1-inch sensor. The audio, the preamps seem fantastic, and the range that you can adjust the audio, you could go to -20 to +20. It's a huge range. So if you don't have the right preamps, or if your mic is too low or too high, you can adjust all of that with the built-in preamps. The range that you can adjust is fantastic. Another thing that's fantastic is that setup is extremely fast, because check this out. I'm going to tilt it and it's still level. It's hitting my background, but you get the point. You can tilt it and it's level. When I set up this ZVE1, I got to get it level, and there's a bar to level it. Every time I move the camera, I have to level it. The DJI is not the case. It's always level because you have tilt locked. Well, there you go. And that also means that you can turn on tracking. Well, I wouldn't turn on tracking for the normal video, but let's just say that you have a slider, a small motorized slider, and you turn on tracking, track yourself, and have that slider just going very slowly. You have a very dynamic background that moves just a little bit. It'll bring up your quality a whole lot, and it doesn't take up that much space. The idea of being able to move your tripod to another location just to totally change out your scene. Let's see. Just there. It's changed. And I didn't have to level anything. That was all done in real time, and I'll move it back. It is also fast and fluid. I just love that aspect of this gimbal, because even though you're not using it much, when you need it in that little time pinch, it works fantastic. In my opinion, this thing is just so small, so convenient, so lightweight, and so fast to set up. It's hard to go wrong as a studio camera. Anyhow, that's all I got for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like, subscribe, share. See you in the next one. Take care.